We are today here at the Essar Oil refinery here in Jamnagar in the state of Gujarat. Essar Oil refinery with a capacity of 20 million tons per annum is perhaps the second largest single location refinery in the country. We also know Essar Oil has been in the regions with their promoters Ruyas deciding to sell close to 49% or perhaps more to Russian oil giant ROSNEFT. Clearly, what is going to be Essar Oil's business plans and what is going to be its roadmap going ahead? To discuss that and much more in detail, we have with us Mr. LK Gupta, MD and CEO of Essar Oil. Mr. Gupta, once again, welcome and thanks for spending this time and speaking
My
to
pleasure.
ET now.
My pleasure.
And of course, thanks for getting us here at the refinery. If I could ask you, sir, this is the second largest single location refinery in the country at this point of time with a capacity of 20 million tons per annum. You have also decided to invest close to more 1200 crores in the next 2 to 3 years. What is going to be your plan for this particular refinery?
No, as you know, this is the single location, second largest refinery of the country, and right from the day one when we have started, our focus has been always to optimize the margins, always to add more and more value, and in that direction we started with expansion and optimization in 2012. Thereafter in 2015, when we took our first turnaround after expansion, we have converted our VGO hydrotreater into mild hydrocracker. We have put up another hydrogen manufacturing unit. We have put facilities to process more of high acid crudes. All that we have done, almost 1500 crores we have spent in 2 phases, and this has added almost 90 cents per barrel margins in our GRM. And going forward, we are also doing revamp of our NHT, CCR and ISOM. We are also setting up propylene recovery unit because we have lot of potential for propylene, which is a very high value added product. We are also adding more sulfur recovery capacity because we want to go on more high sulfur crude. So this is the second phase of the second optimization which we are doing. It will go for about 2 to 3 years, and it will further add about 90 cents, and 90 cents to a dollar, 90 cents dollar a barrel means almost 800 crores plus per year, starting from 18, 19 substantial part, but 19, 20 full 90 cents.
Just to understand it very clearly, Mr. Gupta, as you are rightly saying, this particular investments at this point of time, GRMs, which are the benchmark to look at this industry, now stands at close to $10 plus for you. What would be the financial year where you will get the full impact of, say, adding another $1 or plus to your GRMs after these investments? Which is that exact financial year will you start getting or seeing this reflected in your balance sheet?
Actually, last year we had $10 plus, and this year we will have full benefit of this 90 cents, which is the first phase, and this second phase of 90 cents, substantial part of this you should see in 18-19, and full 90 cents will come in 19-20.
Okay. And sir, the other important aspect, as we all know, the company has been in the news because your promoters have decided to sell 49% stake to Russian oil, Rosneft. The MOUs have been signed, and of course there are indications that perhaps more the promoters would like to say. But from a management perspective, how close are we to seeing the deal finalization and the fine tunes being put in place, and how soon would it get fructified? And also from management perspective, how things would change perhaps, or how would be it with new promoters on board?
Basically, the new promoters in Essar Oil, it is the part of the monetization which our existing promoters are wanting to do, and they have already been in discussion with ROSNEFT for 49%. As far as we are concerned, as far as Essar Oil is there, you know, it is one of the best managed company in India, and what we are looking for towards a new promoter is basically we have lots and lots of potential to grow in capacity in petrochemicals. So once a new promoter is there, we can really sit down, discuss our plans, because we have been running this refinery now in a very stable mode for last 4 years. We have done 2 sort of optimization scheme, adding almost $2 plus. So we are looking forward that once the new promoters come, as and when they come, this refinery, which growth potential it has, we want to actually capture.
Sir, just any time frame when you expect the deal to be through and
I would
to be on
think that
board?
our promoters are at a very, very advanced stage of completing this deal, Beyond that, for me to say may not be possible.
And just one thing before I could move, do we also see another say stakes dilution or another promoter, and where the promoters dilute up to 74%? What are the indications to you as a management from the promoters side?
As of now, 49% is something which is firm, and I also keep hearing that they are in discussion for some more disinvestment, but exactly what percentage is that and who are the parties, as of now I will not be able to comment anything.
So as a MD and CEO of Essar Oil, we all know the valuations. Perhaps you went through the whole of delisting process, and perhaps then this deal was struck, and perhaps the valuations clearly skyrocketed, perhaps not going by the price of shares when you were delisted. At this point of time, if you could throw some light on the valuations in the backdrop of this particular deal that has fructified now?
No, as far as the valuation of the deal is concerned, I will not be in a position to comment anything. All I want to say is that if you want to set up a refinery of this size, you will need at least $12 billion to begin with. You have to then have retail. So there are lots and lots, and then you have land, environment clearances, infrastructure for going to 45 million tons, setting up another petrochemical complex. So this refinery, this place has a huge growth potential. And how this is put into valuation, I think it is for the promoters to discuss and settle with the new party. But this is a unit, this is the company which really presents a huge growth potential for anybody who wants to grow.
Okay, and sir, from at this point of time, when it comes to sourcing crude from Russia, are you doing something, or it would happen only once the promoters are on board? Because there is also a MOU for sourcing a certain crude or a huge quantity of crude, say over a period of next decade or so.
Yeah, as of now we are not sourcing anything from Russia. Only when the ROSNEFT is on board, we will sit down and understand how this is to be implemented. Presently we are not buying, but there is always a possibility that Russians, ROSNEFT has equity in other countries, particularly Venezuela sort of thing, and that crude may come to this refinery, that I see very clearly. Other than that, we will have to sit down and understand from them how this is to be done. But as of now, we are not doing anything.
Okay. And sir, from the financial perspective of Essar Oil, since you are on an expansion spree, is now the time for consolidation? What are your plans to reduce your debt? Where are the debt levels at this point of time, so on and so forth?
No, as far as debt level is concerned, as for Essar Oil, it was about $2.6 billion US, and we have converted most of it into the dollars to reduce our interest cost. Going forward, when we have converted into ECVs, it's a 10-year repayment period. So over a period of time, we are generating more than $1 billion of EBITDA every year, plus our retail will throw a lot of EBITDA. So we don't see this at all a challenge, and we will keep on reducing our debt over a period of time now.
Any time frame or any targets that you have set?
No, there is no target as such, but once we have borrowed in terms of US dollar, we have got the repayment period of 10 years. Basically, it's a 2-year rotation up to 10 years. So within that period, certainly, we will be in a very, very...
And that is not going to be an issue when it comes to your expansion or
I don't think, because for a refinery of this size, debt of $2.6 billion is a very, very meager debt, I would say.
Mr. Gupta, the other important aspect at this point of time, I believe if my numbers are right, close to 45% is your export and 55% is your domestic market. How do you see that pie panning out, say in the next 3 to 5 years, particularly because there are also indications you are going to bet big time on the retail operations now with the price deregulations happening in the diesel in the last 2 years?
Certainly. I mean, when we had set up this refinery, the whole idea was to sell our products locally. But particularly because the retail had a setback because of the regulation again being put in force, we were exporting quite a large amount of our product. But going forward, with the growth in demand which India has, with the growth in our retail volume, I would think that this 45% should come down to 20-25% over a period of 2 to 3 years.
Very interesting, Mr. Gupta, 20 to 25% from the current high levels of 45%. So if I could ask you in the same, say with the 5,000 outlet target, what this means when it comes to your balance sheet in terms of your cash flows, maybe in real terms or percentage terms, how would things change?
See, in terms of retail, what we are looking forward is that we should be selling from our outlet roughly about 10 million kiloliters. So when you translate this 10 million kiloliters, our export goes down substantially. And when we sell locally, in addition to what we get as incremental refinery margins in terms of the domestic selling price, we will also have access to the retail margins. So it will boost our profitability, and on a 10 million KL, we should have something like 250 to 300 million dollars of EBITDA.
Okay. Mr. Gupta, the other aspect, if we could touch upon now with the whole policy regime changing with the last 2 years with the Modi government in place, how are you looking at things from a policy sector, particularly for the refinery in the country, and from your perspective, how are things going to pan out?
See, after the new government has come, one thing is that they have continued with the policy of deregulation. So immediately after they came, they announced the deregulation, of course, because the crude oil prices came down, that helped them. But they have been very focused for last 2 years plus more. They have not been interfering in pricing, which has given enough confidence to us that now the pricing will remain free. And in addition to that, I think after they came in, they settled the gas prices. So all I think is that they have been taking decisions, and refinery capacity, they are very focused. They understand that refinery capacity expansion is a need now, because the first or second phase of expansions is now virtually over with Paradeep commissioning and with Kochi commissioning by end of this year expansion. So they are focused on refinery capacity expansion. In fact, the government of India has constituted a group, of which I am also a member, to assess that by in next 15-20 years what sort of capacity this country needs. And all I can say is that today we are in a situation where the government is taking a lot of decisions. They are focused. They want to see that Make in India, which is the big program of government of India, is really implemented. And if that, I always say that if something can give a big boost to that, it is the refinery capacity expansion, because you need huge investment. There is a real potential that in next 5-6 years you can invest something like 5-6 lakhs crores in this country.
Sir, does that also mean an established player like you, with your experience, with your expertise, we can see you will explore maybe some other geography when it comes to setting up a new refinery, because government has also been talking about a particular portion of the country where they are planning to put up new refineries, so on.
So as far as we are concerned, our first target is to expand our capacity here, because we have land, we have infrastructure, we have environment clearances. This is the place which is most ideally located in terms of crude sourcing, in terms of export, in terms of product evacuation in local market. You can take your product actually right up to Paradeep or up to Bengal from here by coastal route. We are presently focused on expanding capacity in Vadinar, but certainly going forward, sky is the limit.
And before moving on to other specific aspects, from a policy perspective, sir, we all know GST has finally become a reality with the constitutional amendment bill getting passed earlier this week. Petroleum products have been kept out. That's a worry for the industry, but from the government's perspective, they say going forward it may be brought under. So from an industry perspective, how are you looking at this GST, and what does this mean for the petroleum sector?
Basically, we were hoping that petroleum products will come into GST, but nevertheless what I understand now is that they have brought petroleum product in GST with zero rate as of now, so that as and when the governing council takes the decision to bring petroleum products within GST, it can come. GST certainly helps in avoiding lot of taxes like CST, which is an unnecessary burden in free trade. We feel that maybe in next 1 or 2 years petroleum products should be part of GST, because there is no point of keeping them outside GST. Perhaps since it is a big source of revenue for the governments, and particularly state governments and central government both, there may be a different rate, but other than that, to keep this outside for a long term, I would think that my strong advice or appeal to the government will be to put this back to GST.
Mr. Gupta, on the other hand, if I could ask you, the new NELP policy or the round that we are expecting now, of course from your perspective you would be primarily focusing on the CBM which you are already into. How are you looking at things, because we all know NELP experience for various reasons have been not that great. How do you see things perhaps changing this time for the sector, and also what is going to be your game plan?
No, presently the government is only interested to do some marginal sort of fields, and the only hope is that one of the marginal field may turn out to be field like cane. That's the only hope. Issue is that world over this is the time where people are not focusing on E&P. For us this is an opportunity, because India is a big market for petroleum products. So if we can focus and put our acts together, if government can really give proper incentive to the people, people might get attracted to India and we can get something bigger. But otherwise, as far as Essar Oil is concerned, we are focused as of now on CBM, and we want to remain focused there.
And what's the update on your CBM field?
CBM is, we have crossed 100,000 standard cubic meter per day, and we are progressing because we already have consumer sitting there, a fertilizer plant.
And in terms of the revenues, how do you see things panning out for CBM in the next 2 to 3 years?
I think we will reach a level of about 2.5 million cubic meter by end of next year, and that should give us enough revenues and generation.
Okay. And Mr. Gupta, quickly before I could wind up, if I could touch upon, you have seen various phases of Essar Oil, challenging times, consolidation, now finally things are looking up. From your perspective, where does Essar Oil go from here on? Because you also know that there's going to be new promoters on board, although the existing promoters will be on the board. What is going to be, say, next decade, if I could ask you, because this is a long-term sector, what is going to be Essar Oil's roadmap?
Yeah, Essar Oil has actually passed through a very, very critical phase in last 5 years. We commissioned our expansion optimization, various rounds of optimization. We had the setback of sales tax, which put our plants to hold. Next time, 10 years time frame, I would think that Essar Oil should be a 45 million ton refinery. I would think that it should have petrochemical, which it has not been having all along. And it should be the world's second or third largest complex in petroleum.
Great, sir. Once again, thanks a lot for spending time. Pleasure talking to you.
Same here. Thank you.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.